Birds are singing, skies are blue. The world's awake, it's time for you. Start it right, you know it's true. Anson in the morning.
That's right. It's Anson in the morning. You're here, I'm there. It's morning, and I got myself a nice cup of coffee. It's my second one. Uh, I slept really great, but the problem with that is you wake up. I don't know. If I sleep great, I wake up groggy. If I sleep shitty, I wake up groggy. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm old, and I'm not even that old. I know I got like the gray hair. I got the Pauly Walnuts wings from Sopranos coming in. I don't know. But I'm only 48, and it's not that I'm old. But I've been on my feet my whole life. When I was a kid, summer break, I had worked landscaping with my parents. Uh, Later on in life, it was all every job I've had has been on my feet. I've never really had a sit down job. I had one, which we're going to talk about today, but it only lasted for a couple of months. Uh, so I just, the knees hurt, the feet hurt. Um, I recently quit at the restaurant because, it's just my feet are just always on fire. I'm 48 years old and I'm limping around the house. I mean, right now I woke up this morning with my knee hurt and I'm like, why? Does that mean it's gonna rain? Am I my grandma now? I got my fingers hurt. We're gonna get a storm. Today's episode is called Security Guard Blues. Now, you guys have been with me for 6 episodes now with this one, and I gotta tell you guys, first off, the views have been great. I really appreciate you guys. Let me turn me down. I can hear that I'm a little too loud in my ears. There we go. See, I got my microphone back. I can hear myself and I know what's going on. Maybe I sound a little bit better. I really hope I do. Uh, Today's episode's called Security Guard Blues. There was a time in my life when I really didn't know what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And a little part of me was like, well, why don't you think about law enforcement? It's fun. It looks fun. You chasing criminals and out there on the mean streets, right? Okay, well, that sounds like something to try, but I didn't know where to start. So I move out of my parents' house. Uh, I want to say it was 1998, about like that. And I'm out on my own, and I'm like, what am I going to do for work? Well, me and my buddy Frank, and you're going to hear me talk a ton about Frank. I'm actually going to have him. I'm going to try to convince him to do a behind the pint with me. Only because his story is fascinating and we have a long history together. So all of my episodes, you're probably going to hear a little bit about Frank. We've been together way too long. Excuse me. I'm living with Frank and I'm like, what are we going to do? So one day we're out at the mall. I don't remember why we're there, just shopping, Lloyd Center Mall in Portland. And we come across this guy and he's in the white uniform with the Smokey the Bear hat, wearing the security badge. And I'm thinking to myself, let's see what it takes to do this. So I call him up the next day. I think it was Monday, and I get to talk to this guy. Found out he passed away, and I wish I could remember his name, but he was this old guy from Hawaii. He was wonderful. He was a great dude. Uh, he took me in, told me that I need to take a DPSST, Department of Public Standards and Safety Training exam. It wasn't that hard. He goes, if you want, you can try to take it right now. So here I am in some back room at Lloyd Center filling out a DPSST test, and I pass it. Like I just no problem. And I wasn't smoking weed back then. I wasn't a drinker really. A little bit, because I'm on my own doing my own thing, but I wasn't really like a drinker. So he says you got to take a drug test and you got to come in and do this and that, and then we'll get you going. As I'm in there, there's a sergeant that works there. And I remember this is like a paramilitary, we had ranks. There's a sergeant there. And he looked over at me and he goes, you look like a good kid. When are you starting? I said, I've got to take all this other stuff. And he walked to a closet and handed me a badge. He goes, I need you tomorrow. I'm like, oh shit. I didn't say that, but I'm like, oh wow, thank you so much. So he goes to get my hire paperwork, and I'm sitting in this guy's room looking at this badge. And it's my first time ever wearing a badge. And now look, I'm going to say this right now. Looking back, I understand. I was a security guard. Okay. Um, I'm not a cop. I'm not going to shoot somebody. I'm not out there to arrest people for whatever's. My job is basically to observe and report. That's what they told us in our training. That's what every company I've worked for said. Your job is to observe and report. Well, except for one. We're going to talk about them next. Uh, so I get the job, like on the bat. He takes me to this room, gives me my duty belt with handcuffs. I'm like, what? Do I get handcuffs? And all the shit that I need. And I've got a badge and a uniform and a radio and the thing that goes over the shirt, that hooks onto your thing right here. And I don't know, man. It was like the first time ever that I felt, because I was never in the military. Um, the only club I ever belonged to in my life was the group of people I used to play D&D with when I was a freshman and sophomore in high school. So it wasn't like I was really a part of anything except for that. Like all of a sudden, I've got guys that are looking out for me and I'm looking out for them. And we have a superiority staff, you know what I mean? Like ranks that keep track of everything. And I'm like, wow, maybe I am part of something here. So he says, go into the bathroom, get dressed up. So I go in there and I put the uniform on for the first time. And like I said, I don't know any better. I'm a schmuck, right? But I walk out of there all sharp and shiny. I had my lines straight. That badge was on perfect. He gave me a name tag kind of thing, uh, whatever. So I had my duty belt was all perfect. And I look at myself in the mirror and I'm just like, and the thing I didn't like about that uniform was that we had these Smokey the Bear hats, the wide brim with the top. And some of these guys took their hat like it was their life. These guys, this was all they lived for, was this job, was taking care of Lloyd Center Mall. That's what they love to fucking do. Fine. So first day, I'm out there on my first day, uh, walking. That's what we did. We walked the mall. You had the east side of the mall, you had the west side of the mall, and then you had the center of the mall where like the food court, the movie cinema was, all that stuff, right? The information desk was downstairs. So it was like two wings of this mall with a thing in the middle. Well, the sergeant took a shine to me right away. There was something about me when I was a kid. I looked really professional in a uniform. I actually looked really good. And so he kind of took a shine to me and he's like, all right, you and me are gonna do centurion duty. I'm like, what's centurion duty? He goes, we're Roman. Cute. So we had to roam back and forth between east, west, and middle, which was kind of a fun job because we weren't stuck to one area. We could kind of go where we were needed or where we wanted to. And B, it was, I don't know, just a little bit more freedom. So that was neat. And this is day one. And I'm like, let's do this. Now remember, I'm wearing cotton pants, a nice cotton white shirt with Lloyd Center security on the side and the American flag on the other, my badge, my Smokey the Bear hat, and these fucking boots. You had to wear these steel-toed boots. It's the first time I've ever worn a steel toe in my life. These things are heavy. These things are not comfortable. I didn't know about insoles back then. Well, it only took me about 30 minutes before I get the shin splints. I shit you not. I was hurting so bad. But I'm a man of I'm gonna tough this out until I can't. You ask anybody, they'll tell you right fucking then and there. I will go until I cannot. It just me. So I kept going and I kept going and I kept going all fucking day. By the time like my first break came around, I sat down and after 5 minutes, I didn't want to get back up. I just didn't. I mean, it sucked, guys. It was not fun. So here I am working, walking, learning. I'm learning radio codes. That was kind of fun. I'm working with this cool sergeant guy. Turned out he was a pastor. So he was like a really, family oriented guy. Found out that his kid wanted to become a cop, but I guess he got hurt in high school and never could. So I think he kind of took me on as like his other son, somebody he could kind of train and do whatever. I don't know. I don't know. But he was a sweetheart of a dude. And some of the guys I worked with were amazing. These guys were they were all kids and they were all nerds, except for our sergeants and our upper echelon of command. They were all kids. Like I think the oldest guy that worked for us was like 24, 25. And we were all out there just having a blast. After work, I played D&D with a couple of them for a little bit. They had their own little group going. It didn't that group broke down after a while, but it's still cool. We'd go out a little bit afterwards. I knew where these guys lived. They knew where I lived. We'd hang out. We'd do, whatever. So as it goes, we keep working, and it's a boring job. The most you'll get is, "Oh, can you walk through Claire's? We have some girls that might be shoplifting a pair of earrings." Okay. You go walk through there, and you look for trouble because that's what I wanted to do. I didn't know any different, and I'm not gonna go off on a tangent, but I get why these cops can sometimes pull people over for random shit. Dude, you're sitting there for we had 12-hour shifts. No, we had 10-hour shifts, I'm sorry. I'm sitting there for fucking 10 hours walking, just walking, walking. Any shot of adrenaline to my system took the pain out of my shins, perked me back up, and woke me up. It was as good as a cup of coffee, and then you're back on the job. I learned how to write reports. We actually, had some incidents at Lloyd Center when I was there. Let's see. Okay, so the first big thing I ever had happen is we used to have a couple of Asian gangs, and Lloyd Center was their place because we weren't too far from that community in Portland. Some wore red, some wore blue. Now, it wasn't a Bloods and Crips thing, or no, I'm sorry, some wore red and some wore yellow. It was just their gang colors. And some would hang upstairs by the fucking food court, and the other ones would hang downstairs, kind of over by the front entrance area. And these two, when they got together and they started at it, dude, I'm telling you, it's oil and water. So it was about 3 weeks that I'm there. And I can't remember the code. So we had one lady that sat, two people, I'm sorry. We had two ladies that sat in the camera room. That's all they did. Dispatch. They sat there and they watched the whole mall on these two cameras. They knew what to look for. They were doing this and that. They also dispatched us out to stuff when we needed to go places. If a shop owner called dispatch, they would answer the phone, be like, Lloyd Center Security. Okay, we'll get somebody out there. And then they dispatch us. But meanwhile, they're all watching these cameras and shit. So, 12:25. That's what it was. It just popped in my head because I'm remembering the situation. So I'm up there over by Panda Express or whatever it was up there in the food court. And I see the guys in red and I see two of the blue guys coming up the escalator. And I'm walking with somebody. I'm not by myself. And the guy she's talking to on the radio, she's very calmly being like, the report you filed, this and this and that. So make sure that we get that in by tonight. And then out of the nowhere, she goes, "Oh my God, 12:22 or 12:25 or whatever the fuck it was." And we look over, and sure as shit, these guys in red are just beating the crap out of these two guys in blue. So we run over, but we don't get involved because I don't want to get shanked, and I don't think neither does my friend. I mean, these guys are going at it pretty good. So he calls in because I'm still kind of new. He calls in on the radio, and we get fucking 10 officers up there ready to fucking go. And when we had these mag flashlights, four or three 3D cell flashlight mag lights. We've all got these in our hands. We're just waiting for them to come at us. We're not going to do anything. We're just trying to get them out. So we're screaming at them, "Get out, get out, get out of the mall, get out of the mall." They kind of disperse, but then one of them comes at one of the officer that was training me, and he just runs at him. I don't like the guys that were in the fight all leave the mall, and this fucking kid just looks at this one. I'm glad he didn't look at me and just rushed him. I'm like, holy shit. Now, this is the first time I've had any kind of a violent altercation in the 3 weeks that I've been a security guard at a mall. We're just walking around, we're doing nothing all day. And then boom. And dude, my heart first dropped into my asshole and then jumped into my throat. And I kind of stepped back because I didn't know what to do. I wasn't trained in how to kick somebody's ass. I've taken karate lessons and stuff, but that don't mean nothing when some dude just jumps at your buddy. But these officers that were up there, they descend on him like vampires on a virgin. It just like a sea of white shirts on top of this guy. And it didn't take but 3 seconds. And these guys they weren't beating the shit out of him. They were professional. They're trying to get him cuffed and up. So they grab this guy, they stand him up in no time. Like I said, 3 seconds, they had him cuffed, stood up, and they took him we had a Portland police office in Lloyd Center. So it's just a little office. And so he punched in the code for the room, sat the guy down, called the police. They weren't in there. It was just a place where they would show up and do what we needed them to do. They showed up and took this guy to jail, and that was the end of that. Dude, it took me an hour before the adrenaline stopped and I stopped shaking. And I was like, holy shit, this is exactly what I want to do forever. Because I didn't know, and yeah, you're a kid and you got the little power trip going because now you see these officers have the ability to put hands on people, put handcuffs on people. I didn't know any different. I'm like, okay, shit, this is great. Well, that was about it for about a month. I mean, it was just dead boring. Same old thing, walking around the mall, getting shin splints, greeting people, helping somebody find their lost damn car. And and then we get a call. No, I'm sorry. Me and my sergeant, the guy that I was telling you about, the guy that liked me a lot. We're walking around just having a chat about nothing, and these two girls come up to us and they said there's this guy with long gray hair and a very long gray beard and very old, and he offered us $100 if we'd go back to his van with him. Now, I'm like, what the fuck? And so is my sergeant. He's like, say that again. So they told the whole story, how he came up to them, and then they came up to another girl, and there was this whole thing. And so he tells me, he's like, all right, we got a description of this guy, spread out, find him. So I'm walking like the lower ends of, I think, the East Mall over by Sears or some shit. And I'm nothing. Sea of people, no tall guy with white long hair, and then boom, he appears. Like Moses parted the Red Sea of mall people, and there's this guy with a fucking spotlight on him. Like my Scooby senses were like, what? So I get on my radio. I was talking to my sergeant. I'm like, hey, I got this guy right here. Like he's right in front of me. And the sergeant comes, tells me on the radio, just keep behind him, don't do anything, hold on tight. I'll be right there. So we walk up, and the sergeant gets in front of this guy. I'm behind him. I just instinctually, I'm just like, I'm not going to let this guy go anywhere in case he tries to run. And the sergeant's like, what's all this going about? And the guy like starts to move towards the sergeant, and the sergeant pushed him against the wall and yells at me, not yells, but exclaims to me, hey, cuff him. So this is the first time I ever get to handcuff somebody. Holy shit. you know, uh, okay. So I grab my handcuffs out of the back. I'm shaking just like I was during the fight, putting the handcuffs on this fucking guy. Couldn't believe it. We take him to the police thing. The cops come down. They interrogate. Apparently, this guy's been doing this for years at other malls and probably this one too. They knew this guy. And the only, not, I'm sorry, not, I wish I would have done something different. The only thing this guy fucking says is, my wife's going to fucking kill me. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, why don't you go home and be at home with her instead of out here oh, man. So, the first time I've seen a fight, you saw that one, didn't get involved. The second bit of excitement was the time I got to put handcuffs on somebody. Um, and then every once in a while, we'd get a shoplifter and, but we had, like the stores had their like, Sears had their own loss prevention. They had to call us for backup, but they would do all the hands-on shit. Shit, I remember one day they were chasing this guy like a mile, trying to get a pair of jeans or some shit back. I don't know. So it wasn't long after that that I get moved to bike patrol. Now, bike patrol is it's it it's a promotion. If you want it, you can get it. And you're on your bike, you're cruising the outside of the mall. It's a nice day. You're out there doing what, if it's raining, you come inside, you walk the mall. Nobody gives a shit. So I'm outside and I'm on my bike, and I get a call to a shoplifter over at this place. And I should pull up on my bike. I kind of do the pull sideways, and I'm in gear, looking good, helmet on, nice security bike with the bag on the back and whatever. Again, thinking I'm super cool. And the security comes out and they're chasing this guy, and I'm about ready to go after him. And then I get on the radio, I hear on the radio that I have to go somewhere else. So I was really going to do a bike chase on that one, but I didn't get to. I got called off to go do something else more important, and they had their own LP on it, so who cares? Well, about a couple weeks later, maybe, we get a call again for a shoplifter, and this time he's running out of the bottom stair of Nordstrom's. Now, if I remember, when you come down the sidewalk, you can take a hard right, and there's a ramp that leads right to the door. It's like a wheelchair ramp. So I'm on my bike and I'm doing fucking as fast as my chubby little legs can carry me. And I take a right. And as soon as I take that right, I was misremembering, because that wasn't a ramp of an ADA ramp. It was a flight of stairs. Now it was only about 7 stairs. And me on this mountain bike with big wheels, I'm like, I got this. I pull up on the handlebars a little bit to try to get over the stairs. My bike, the front wheel hits like the third stair down. And as soon as that fucking front wheel hits and I feel my ass end go up, I'm like, I don't got this. I flipped end over end. The bike landed on me right in front of a couple of people. And I am in agonizing pain. I'm like, but I see these people walking. They're like, are you okay? I get up. I straighten my uniform, dust myself off, get on my bike, off I go. It wasn't until I pulled over a little bit later. I'm like, ow, 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 ow. Jesus Christ. Just one of the worst moments in my life. As far as embarrassment goes. Now, these things happen, right? You stand up, you shake it off, you go back, no problem. I loved that job. It was the first time that I had any kind of authority over somebody, and it was misplaced authority. Don't get me wrong. I know exactly, like I said, that we were schmucks out there with badges, but not a cop. Still had a lot of fun. Still had a lot of fun. Now, after bike patrol and that accident and whatnot, I thought maybe I want to go back inside the mall. And they said, well, how would you like to do vehicle patrol? Now, the only thing with vehicle patrol is you got to show up early in the morning, like 5 a.m. You unlock all the gates to the parking garages and do all the shit, blah, blah, blah. But, and you answer the big calls when we need a car there. But for the most part, you just hang out and just drive around the parking lots. And your big thing is helping people find lost cars. That's a fact. But we have cameras and we can always look for shit. So it wasn't that bad of a job. And I had the freedom. Well, one morning, I had a tough night that night before. I don't know if I wasn't sleeping or I went out partying because, I was making good money at that age. And fuck yeah, I'm going to party. So I don't remember what it was. It was probably the party. And I get in the truck in the morning. I'm just dog tired. I go pull under this little place that I know. It's a little parking alcove where there's some dumpsters and whatnot. I pull the seat back. I'm like, I'm going to sleep for 10 minutes. 3 hours later, the morning sergeant, the one that don't care for me that much, is knocking on my window. He did not care for me. He was indifferent, but he's knocking on my window. And I wake up. He's like, are you okay? We've been calling you on the radio for an hour, man. We've been looking everywhere for you. We were worried something happened to you. And I had to make it up. I'm like, oh, man, I got the flu. I'm not feeling good. I just, no. He's like, all right, head back to the command center, park your Jeep, go home. Okay. I pull up to the command center. It was a pickup truck, not a Jeep. I parked the pickup truck. I thought I put it in park. Again, I am so tired and I'm groggy now because he just woke me up from an hour fucking sleep. I thought I put it in park. I put it in reverse. I'm not doing a quarter mile an hour, and I barely dinged the back of the truck. No damage to the truck behind me or my truck, but there was a contact. I'm out of there. Not fired because everybody there was like, this guy is an amazing officer. Shit happens. He's sick, right? Yeah, whatever. Um, maybe, maybe we can still use him. So I'm like, all right, what do I got to do? They go, we want you to go down there and head up security over at Greyhound bus station. You mean head up security? I'm not head of anything. I barely know what I'm doing. They're like, well, we have a problem. Our head of security down there, people have been reporting that he's selling drugs out of there, that his friends are coming in and out of there, doing their drug thing. And this is all at a Greyhound bus station. Like, I thought that was a cool place. I never knew that there was a seedy underside to Greyhound. Let me tell you all about it. So, first and foremost, uh, this was right around the time that there was a rash of Greyhound bus drivers getting stabbed or assaulted on their routes. It was just it didn't last long. It was about 6 months. It made the news. Now, I'm sure it happens all the time, but I'm sure there was like three in a row real close to each other, and the news jumped on it. Like, oh my God, the Greyhound bus drivers are getting assaulted. We have to do something. Maybe we're going to give them guns. Remember the TSA, or we're going to give pilots guns? It was the same thing with the bus drivers. Maybe we'll give them guns or a way to defend themselves. Where the union said, no fucking way. Greyhound Drivers Union. The only reason I know this because I knew all the drivers because I'm working there at the security place. So anyway, we have to start wanding with the metal detectors, people coming through the gates. Put all your metal stuff in the tray, open your bag, just rummage through it, make sure there's no weapons, no alcohol, no drugs. That's it. Then you're free to get on the bus. We check your ticket, make sure it's for this thing, tear your ticket, you're on the bus, right? All we were basically glorified uh, TSA whatever's at the airport. This is where the job got fun because if you're drunk, you can't get on the bus. And man, I get it. You got a fucking 15-hour bus ride home to wherever you're going, Memphis or some shit. I don't know. And or sometimes days. Yeah, you're gonna go out and you're gonna get a few in you, and then you're gonna go on the bus and sleep it off. But my job was if you smelled like alcohol or if you were visibly impaired, you can't get on that bus. And sometimes I would call the driver. It's up to the drivers, at the end of the day. And sometimes they're like, oh, I know this guy. He rides with us all the time. He just stopped at the hotel, had three. He never causes a problem. Let him on. Fucking fine. Other times these guys are slurry and smelly and yeah, it's just nasty. And you're like, nope, you're not getting on today. And this is where the fun got because these guys would get belligerent. And at this point, you got to take them up to the ticket counter, get them a refund, get them out the fucking door, which was always easier said than done. Now, this was a job. I don't know. I'm sure it probably wasn't legal. I don't know. But this is a job where we went hands on with people a lot. Uh, Mostly they just wouldn't leave. They wouldn't budge. So at some point we'd have to get them and forcibly remove them from the property. We would never like throw them outside. We were always, dude, I was always Mr. Sir, please, can we this? Can we that? Please don't, let's do the thing that will make you the happiest. But over time, dude, you just get tired of it. You get tired of being nice to people. Now as I'm talking about this stuff, it's starting to register with me why these cops get so pissed all the time. Like, what the fucking why? I see the TikToks, right? Where the cops pull some guy over and like license and registration. It's like, I don't have to give you shit. Man, give me the fucking license, right? And instantly they get mad because they deal with this time and time again. Or I'm a sovereign citizen. The under maritime law, your fucking police stop doesn't apply to me. I'm like, go fuck yourself, dude. You're on American soil. It absolutely applies to you. I don't put up with that. So I get to see why the cops can get testy with people. It doesn't mean it's an excuse, but I see where it comes from. So you deal with these people who are just drunk and won't leave the building, or, they show up with a bottle of booze in their bag. And they're like, well, can we just put it under the bus? I'm like, no, we can't. Some guy came with fireworks, a bunch of fireworks. He's like, can we just throw these under the bottom of the bus? Like, no, you can't. What happens if it gets hot and they go off and they blow the bus up? I don't think that would happen, but things like that. Now, one day, I told this a couple of weeks ago on one of my other episodes, but one day this guy comes through, Hispanic guy. I don't know where he's going, but obviously he's traveling. He's got a couple of suitcases. Most of them go under the bus, but his carry-on, as soon as I put it up on the tray, I hear the distinctive clinking of glass bottles. I'm like, this guy's got booze in here. I open it up and there's two beautiful Jose Cuervo Gold, Especiale, whatever it is, with the import sticker still over the top, all the writings in Spanish. I'm like, sir, you can't bring this on the bus. Huh? Like, you can't bring it on the bus. I mean, if you want to pay, you can ship it to wherever you're going, but it's going to be like $60. He's like, no, keep it. Okay. Well, usually what we do is we take them out back and we dump them, or I'll give them to the guys that work. Like there's a whole bus crew, kind of like the guys that work under the bus, under the airplanes at the airport. These guys are like bus attendants. They take care of the fueling. There's a garage there. You can't have stuff like that because what are you going to do with it? You throw it away or you give it away, right? Or in this case, with the two bottles of Cuervo, I took those home, and I'll never forget. I was sitting in the apartment with my buddy, and I'm like, "Hey Frank, look at this." And he kind of looks, and I've got my backpack there, and I pull out a bottle. I'm like, "Huh?" He's like, "Nice." I pull out the second bottle. I'm like, "Huh?" He's like, "Even better." So there was a lot of that stuff. And we probably weren't allowed to keep it, but I never got caught. I was in charge. Nobody was gonna give me shit for it. I actually had a pretty good crew, people that kind of looked up to me and trusted me because over time I became no nonsense. And I think that's kind of where I learned to get my don't take a lot of shit from people attitude was doing that job. I can only take so much nonsense before I'm like, enough. And everybody knows back in my 30s, that was my fucking catchphrase. Enough. Stop. You know, and it was just how it was. You put up with that's the other thing, right? If you do nothing but look at the good where you work, you're gonna find great shit. You're gonna find good people and beautiful things. But day in and day out, like these cops or me as a security guard, looking at a Greyhound station of all things, downtown, muddy, dark. I mean, Portland's beautiful. This station was not. When I got working there was a line of homeless people sleeping in there every night. It took me a month to get them all out of there and learn not to come back because me and my team wouldn't put up with it. These were good guys. I don't remember a lot of names. I remember Donald. He was kind of like my second in command. He was my puppy dog. He loved to follow me around. He looked up to me. And again, I was nothing to look up to. I was some schmuck who worked at a mall, and now I'm the head of fucking security. So we had our fun there. I'll never forget one night I got a phone call. I don't remember who it was from, but somebody called in and said, "Hey, on this bus at this time, there's going to be a large amount of methamphetamine coming in. Can you guys do something about it?" And I'm like, "I'm sure we can." So me and Frank, uh, and I don't think Frank was even working with us at the time, but me and Frank we were dressing in plain clothes for that night. I had my leather jacket on. I had my badge on my belt. I gave him my spare badge, or maybe he was no, he never worked for that company. So I gave him my spare badge. He had it on his belt. We were all looking official and shit. I got all my guards together, and I'm like, when this thing comes off the bus, when the bus gets here, we're gonna go on first, find the guy, get everybody off, and we'll take care of it. So we do. They call ahead to the bus driver and tell him, hey, there's going to be this and this happening, blah, blah, blah. Well, we call the police. We're like, hey, can you guys do something about this? Can you guys come and pick it up and take it? He goes, tell you what, this is what the guy on the phone said from 911. You guys need to detain him and then we'll come in and take care of it. What? You're the cops. There's reportedly a large amount of methamphetamine coming in on the bus. You're not going to do anything about it? Now, remind me, this is 1999. So it wasn't like it is now where, they're all tactical geared out. And, the cops back then wore a duty belt and a blue shirt. Portland wore blue. I don't remember. Yeah. So I tell all my security guys, this is what we're going to do. We're going to post up. Me and Frank are going to get on the bus. We're going to grab the guy. We're going to walk him out. And then you guys need to be posted up around in case he tries to run. And they do. They post up. They're ready to go. I think we had something like 5, 6 officers. I called some guys in to be there to help out, like Donald. He wasn't working. I'm like, get in here, dude. We have a big thing going on. So he did. Everybody got paid. We're all clocked in and all this stuff. So the bus shows up. Hold on, let me get some coffee because the bus shows up. We get on the bus first. We find the guy who's sitting in the back with his girlfriend. They Frank gets starts directing people off the bus, and I've got this guy right in front of me. I got my hands on him. I got my hand on his jacket. We're walking out of the bus. Motherfucker, I should have cuffed him on the fucking bus. See where this is going? I walk him off the bus and I turn him around to look at me. I'm like, do you have a bag? And he turns and he points. He goes, that one right there. Like a little black leather satchel bag, athletic bag. I go to get it. I go to reach to grab it. And this motherfucker pulls off of me and takes off like a gazelle. Now, here he comes. He's running around the side of the building where I've got an officer. We're chasing right after him, like full on foot. This officer is like 3 times my width and twice as tall. This guy fucking jukes around this officer, spin move, and takes the fuck off. Holy shit, look at this. I'm chasing him. Stop, you're under arrest. We lose him. I'm winded. I haven't run like that in a long time. Well, finally, we all get back together and I grab his bag. I get his girlfriend. We take him into the office. We're going through his bag looking for meth so we can call the cops. And no, all we find is a scale with some dust on it. There was no, he probably had the drugs on him. Of course, why put it in your under? And he was gone with the wind. Where he's at today, I don't know. He probably out there. Maybe he cleaned his life up and he's, working as an insurance fraud attorney or something. I don't know. This girl, she's like, I don't know anything about it. The cops come, they check her for needle marks, make sure that she's not using or anything like that, that she's not an accomplice. Let her go. She's got some friends in town. Gone. That was how I blew the only bust of my career. I say the only because the second time something like this happened, we're doing the same thing. We're wanding people down, and I grabbed this guy. This guy's wearing one of those army kind of jackets, the long ones with like many pockets, and cargo pants with many pockets. And I grab the first pocket and I hear like a baggy crunch. And I'm like, oh, what is this? I pull it out and it's a fucking ounce of marijuana. So I put it back in his jacket. I say, come on. I handcuff him right there on the spot. So turn around. Cuff, cuff. Take him into the security office. The other officer that was working with me uh, tells everybody in line that they're free to go. Right now, we have a situation. We take him, we pull the blinds. Instantly, uh, I tell him, I said, look, where are you going? Where are you coming from? What's the story with this? He's like, I'm bringing it. It goes to somebody else, blah, blah, blah. It's not mine. Yeah, right. You carrying a pound. We counted it out on the desk. There was 16 uh, 1 ounce bags. So a pound of weed this guy had on him. And it was not bad weed from the look of it, but I wasn't really a pot smoker. Like I'd done it a couple of times. I like to have a couple of drinks, a couple of beers. That's really all it was. So we pull out all this weed and it's sitting on the desk. He's like, can I make a phone call? I say, stand up. I'm going to cuff you in the front. Will you be a gentleman? He goes, yeah, man, you got me. I'm like, all right, cool. I cuff him in the front. He sits back in the chair. I hand him the phone. So he's like this. And I was like, give me the number. He gives me the number back when people remembered phone numbers because they're not all in your phone. And I dialed it out on the phone. And he's like this on the phone with his girl. Hello. And the only thing I heard was, they got my smoke, baby. They got all my smoke. And he's like, what? And I heard some whatever. He's like, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. I'll see you in a couple of months. I'm going to jail and this and this and that. And you could hear on the phone, like she's getting hysterical. He's starting to cry. He goes like that, hands me the phone. I hang it up. I'm like, all right, man, you want to go to jail or do you want to go home? Right? Like, there's two ways we can do this. He goes, what are the ways? I was like, one, I call the cops. They take your pound of weed, which I think is a felony, and your ass goes to jail for a really long time. Plus, you're stuck in Portland because I don't think you live here. B, you get on that bus and you never come back into my terminal ever, ever, ever again. Because if I see your fucking face, the cops will be called instantly and I'll let them know all of your history. Of course, it wouldn't have mattered. You can't call the cops on something that happened months and months ago like that. Oh, he found weed on this guy a month ago. No, it doesn't work like that. But he didn't know that. He's like, I just want to go. I just want to go home. I just want to go home. So I unlock the cuffs, take him out the door, let him on the bus. Now I'm sitting there with a pound of weed. Me and my buddy, the other security officer that works with me, Alfred, he was Fijian. He was a Fiji police officer. So back in the day, not now, not when he was working with us. So we're looking at each other and we're looking at all this weed. And I'm like, what do we do with it? He's like, well, we call the police. I'm like, okay. So I call the cops. I'm like, hey, we got a pound of weed here, marijuana, that we took off of a suspect. Or that was, I told them we found it in a locker. And since they're coin operated lockers, we don't know whose it belongs to, but we found it. We don't know how long it's been there. Can you guys come get it? He goes, package it up, put it in a thing. We'll come by in a couple of days. Dude, almost a month goes by and there's this weed sitting in this, plastic sealed bag in my desk. Now I was the head of security there, so I could keep it under lock and key. Nobody could get into that drawer, but nonetheless. So fuck it. I take it home. And I go home and I lay it out and I'm like, look what I got. And my roommate's like, holy shit. I'm like, how do we sell it? What do we do with it? Because I wasn't a pot smoker. He's like, we weigh it out. We didn't have a scale, so we eyeballed it. Now I was dating this girl, Grace, at the time, and she came over and she was like, holy shit. Now she didn't smoke either, but she was around it a lot, so she knew how to weigh it approximately. And here I am with a pound of weed. Well, it wasn't long before I'm talking to Frank one day and I'm like, should we smoke some? So, we smoke a little bit, get high as fuck. Now, we went through some shady contacts to sell some of that weed. And I went through some people that I knew, some friends of friends, and this and that. And it wasn't the greatest time of my life selling that pound of weed because I was in a lot of places where I was very nervous. But I was also still a security guard, which means I also had my armed license, which means I also carried my gun with me whenever I went to that shit. Like there was one house we went into, it was like we went to this wooden kitchen table in this dingy kitchen with like one light bulb hanging from a string, like in the movies, just swaying slowly back and forth in the kitchen breeze. And there's this guy trying to, jerk us down on price for a couple of ounces. Well, whatever. I just wanted the money. So just give me the fucking money. And then We sold about half of it, and I think Frankie and me and a couple other friends and whatnot ended up kind of smoking the rest. His brother joined in a little bit. Uh, I remember one night we were sitting. I was what company was that? That's a different company. We'll get to that later. But I remember we were chiefing it up one night, and there was a guy that worked at the National Guard where I was a security guard at for a while, and he really, really wanted me to join the National Guard. Like, I guess they get bonuses. He comes and knocks on my apartment door. How the fuck he got my address, I don't know, but he had the paperwork with him. He's like, "I need you to sign this, Mr. Rotola." Well, I opened the door. First thing he gets is a face full of pot smoke. Second thing he gets is look at my wall where I've got a craps table and like three people playing craps at it. He, I'm like, "I'm a little busy." He's like, "I see that." And he just turned around and walked away. Never heard from the guy again. He stopped bothering me about joining the National Guard after that. So anyway, back to the story. I've got this pound of weed. We sell it. Now I'm a pot smoker because I've been, and it lasted us for a while, like quite a while. It's a pound of weed, and we're not heavy smokers. Like we'd smoke a bowl and get ripped, and then go to the pool and swim and be like, "Oh, it feels so good." Just 21-year-old stoners. What are you gonna fucking do? It wasn't long after that that oh wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yes. Okay. So I remember it was not long after that they wanted a change. They wanted to bring in their own. Greyhound wanted to hire their own security guards, like their own company in-house, and then get rid of the private contractors. I'm like, fine, what are you gonna do? Right. So they moved me out to this place in Hillsboro. It was a data farm or a server farm. So it was a big building with just nothing but computer servers. Kept ice cold. You got to keep your computers cold and dark. And I worked from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. 12-hour shift. It was 4 days a week, 3 days off, 12 hours. So I still worked 40 hours and got overtime. Had 3-day weekends every week. The cool thing was is they had an account with Pizza Hut down the road. So before midnight, I could order anything. This was a rich company, and there were a bunch of young guys making a lot of money. One of them tech startups back in the 90s. And this was, no, I'm sorry, 2001. So I'm working here 2001 and eating chicken wings every night and ordering fucking pizzas. And one of the guys there, because they had servers, one of the guys that was the hugest computer nerd, loved the game Counter-Strike, ran their own server right out of the building. So my king was always zero, which was great. And I could just play all night. He said, "I don't care what you do in this place. Watch fucking whatever's, play whatever games, eat all the fucking pizza and breadsticks and chicken wings you want. We don't give a shit. Once an hour, you got to walk through the server room and then walk around the building. Easy. Fill out the log. You're back to playing games and whatever." It was a great job, man. It was a wonderful job. At some point, I'm going to talk about ex-girlfriends, but I remember one of the things that got me canned out of this place was an ex-girlfriend came when I was working one night. We had broken up, and she came and started pounding on the door of this place. "I love you." Oh my God, I had to call the cops. And then anyway, there was a whole thing about that. Well, whatever. But I remember one time when I was working, I used to listen to the show because I worked for the guy in radio. It was called Imus in the Morning. Imus in the Morning. Where I got the idea for Anson in the morning. I'm not going to lie. Uh, Don Imus was the man. So I listened to him on the drive home, which is about a 20-minute drive. So I got a good chunk of Imus. And I remember him saying on the radio, or his news guy came on the radio, and he said a plane has flown into a building in New York. We'll keep you updated. Now I'm thinking a little, Cessna or some shit, passenger plane accidentally clipped the building. I get home and as soon as I get home, I'm like, I wonder if there's footage of this because it's got to be something, right? I go and I turn it on, and not 3-4 minutes later, the second plane hits. And the people I'm living with, that girl and her parents, within, and they were up and about, and the whole world's freaking out. Now everybody's scared. I'm like, well, we're in Hillsboro and I work at a server farm. I'm sure the terrorists aren't coming for the American Express files that are in this building, which was really weird that one guy like me is guarding the West Coast's American Express server. Like all the information that comes and goes out of there every day comes out of that box right there. It's kind of cool. So we're a nation on lockdown, and things are happening and things are moving, and I didn't know if I wanted to be a security guard anymore. It was getting scary. It's getting real scary. 9/11 shit. And then I think about all the stuff I went through just working at the mall and at Greyhound. And I'm like, well, what else am I going to do? So I go and I look for another fucking security company, Triple A Pro Star. Pro Star, I know you're not watching, but if you are, I love you guys. You gave me a life experience that I'll never, ever forget. I met some amazing people through Pro Star. Um, in a roundabout way, I'm married to my wife and I have my three beautiful children because I worked at Pro Star. It's just kind of neat. So let's get into it. Um, I started for the security company, and they first thing they asked is, "Are you armed certified?" I'm like, yeah. What do you need? No, no, no. I wasn't. He goes, "We'll get you armed certified. Don't worry, but you have to take a course in Salem, Oregon. Go down there. You'll meet with this guy. Holy shit, Doug Tolev. He had three fingers, and he was still the fastest draw in the world. This guy was amazing. So I go down there. I taking my arms certification, loving this, and I meet this guy named Jason Rosales. He's down there for the same thing. Or Jason. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say his last name. I meet this guy named Jason. We're down there. He's down there for the same thing, getting his arms certification, and we become friends. We're both working for the same company. We both are going to be patrol officers after we go through the certification. Well, in the meantime, I'm guarding an abandoned building. Just it was an empty, burned out downtown apartment building or a warehouse, and I'm just looking around all day, watching my dick get smaller. Well, on one of these boring days, I'm sitting in the little office there, listening to the radio, and this is before smartphones. We just had like the Nokia's. The best I could do was play Snake. Uh, and the garage door opens up. I'm like, what the hell is this? And in drives my lieutenant, Lieutenant Golden. Love this guy. Love this guy. What a guy. He pulls in and he's like, "Hey, Rotola, I want to talk to you for a minute." I'm like, "What's up?" He goes, "Hey, we have a supervisory board made up of officers and command staff, and a lot of people have noticed that you're really professional. You always come to work nice. You always carry a professional demeanor when you're in our office. Would you like to join this little group of people?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, sure. Anything to help out." Well, that helped me get promoted. Just doing that, put my face in front of the supervisory staff, the captains, the lieutenants, and all that. So I joined that. A couple months later, I become a corporal. It moved up. Now I'm in charge of officers, and I become a patrol officer. So I'm out and about, driving around. What I do is I go to sites, pull on doors, check that stuff. Meanwhile, Jason's doing the same thing because he also is the other armed certified officer in the building. So he and I are working East and West Portland, North and South Portland. 30 days we worked one time with no day off just because we had to. It's how much we loved our jobs. That was a 12-hour shift, just driving all night long. We were called to help other officers. ProStar was a gas because every site was different. We had sites with a lot of officers on them, so I do a lot of officer visits. Or if there was an officer in trouble, I'd go there. I remember one night, Jason called me. He was guarding a Ron Tonkin car lot because they had some break-ins and it was kind of in a shitty part of town. So I go over there and we're looking for the guy that was rattling windows. Like we're all looking through the bushes and shit and whatever. So anyway, he gets on patrol. I'm on patrol. We're doing our thing. I remember one night we go to this. This is the only time. Well, this is the first time that I ever had any real interaction with the cops and a chance to really get into it with somebody. We're at a quinceanera, and Frank is working for ProStar too, and he's there with me. I don't remember if this was in Gresham or Hillsborough. It was out somewhere. Anyway, we're out here and we see these guys stumbling out of the quinceanera, getting into a car, and then they back up and they hit another car. And I'm like, whoa. So I come over to the door and Frank's with me. He's on the other side. I think he was on the other side or he had my back. I don't remember. And I'm like, hey, guys, you can't be driving. Get out of the car. And the dude reaches under the seat. And I'm like, what the fuck? I just pull my gun on him and I put it right on him. I'm like, don't you fucking reach for it. Please don't reach for it. Don't fucking reach for it. Hispanic guy throws his hands up. There's a guy passed out in the back seat. There's another guy in the passenger seat. Um, I tell Frank, I was like, call the fucking cops. So he does. The cop shows up while I've got the gun on. They're like, they're stuck in this car. The cop comes up. He's like, "What happened?" I was like, "I asked him to step out of the car because look at that." I instinctively went and put it back in my holster. I was like, "This guy's in the car. He's drunk. He backed into this car. I asked him to get out of the car. He reached under the seat. I feared for my life. I pulled my pistol." Cop's like, "You did the right thing." I'm like, "Okay, cool. As long as I know that you got my back." So this and that goes. He lets all these guys go. It turned out that the guy was reaching for a screwdriver under his seat, but whatever. Doesn't matter. I did the right thing as far as I was concerned, and as far as the police officer was concerned. Well, here's where it gets fun. The the driver goes off and does his own thing. I don't know if the driver got arrested or not, but the passenger was free to go. And the cop tells the passenger, "Hey, take your drunk buddy in the back seat and get him the fuck out of here." And the guy looks at the cop and shakes his. Oh, he says yes, and then keeps walking. And the guy says, "Come back here and get your buddy." And the guy shakes his head at the cop. Yes, he didn't speak any English. These are Spanish guys. The cop looks at me because oh, that's what it was. He was arresting that one guy. So he looks at me. He's like, "Go get him." So me and Frank go get him. And this guy starts giving us just a little bit of a hassle. So I kind of give him the front leg sweep put down. We get him on his face. I remember, I think Frank had his knee on the guy's back. Now, Frank's a bigger guy than me, and it's muscle. Like he's a sturdy dude, and he's got his back on this guy. And I remember the little Mexican guy, and Frank wasn't trying to kill the guy. He just had him down. He wasn't putting all of his weight on him. But I remember the cop came over and got the guy, and he was like, "Good job, guys. You did very well tonight." And I don't know why, but that was such a source of pride for me. Again, a young, power hungry guy who didn't know any different when it came to what law enforcement and having any power was about. I just thought that was my job. Hassle people and put cuffs on them and be a dick. I'm just kidding. All right. So let's get to the last part of the story as we're running out. Well, I'm working at ProStar. So there's a lot we could go into, but I don't have the time. As I'm working at ProStar, I meet this guy named Marcus. Marcus is a bounty hunter, fugitive recovery agent. He works for a bondsman in Vancouver, and that's his job. So he starts introducing me around to people. Some of the other people, the bondsman, telling me that he'll train me up and show me what's up. No problem. So here, me and Marcus are working for this gal named Joyce. Now, Joyce was a fun lady. All of her cases were shit. She would bond anybody out for no money. She was a little shady at times with how she did her paperwork, but she liked me, so she'd keep me in the office doing menial shit. "Oh, type this up, check this for punctuation. Can you fill out this bond paper?" And I'm like, "I'm not a licensed bondman. I can't. I'm a bounty hunter. You call me when you have a case." She's like, "Well, I'll pay you." And she did. She always paid, put money in my pocket, so I did it. Um, all pro bail, that's what it was. So we get a case with Marcus. No, that's wrong. Let me start. My first case she gives me, I call Marcus. I can't get a hold of him. So I'm like, "Hey, man, we got to go get this guy." Right. And I've got all my security gear, and the shotgun and the pistols and all that stuff that I've had, whatever. I kind of started liking guns back then. So Frank and we just go out and we look for this guy. We've got his paperwork. We've got his address. It's up in Seattle. Like, we're going for a ride, babe. We go to Seattle. We're hunting this guy. We go to we talk to a girl. Dude, you want to talk about doing detective work? That's a job where you do your detective work. You got to find these people. It's not all just running after them and knocking on the door and there they are. We went after this guy we went to his house. We talked to I think it was ex-wife. She's like, Nice house, by the way." Like, "No, he's not here." But I'll tell you what, when we were pulling up to that house to go talk to this guy's ex-wife, as we're driving up, this fucking Rottweiler comes charging out at us. I had just opened the car, just a little bit, the car door, and this thing's charging at me. I knew he was going to bite my nuts off. So I reached down, I grabbed my pepper spray, and I spray this dog in the face. And I could have shot him. I'm just kidding. I didn't want to do that. But I pepper sprayed this dog just out of fear. He was running off. I'm like, "Holy shit. That dog almost ate my asshole out of my body." Then we go to talk to the guy's wife. We can't find him. We never end up finding this guy. But we looked. We looked for a while. And it was the best time because it was me and Frank working together, and we're investigating. We're a couple of detectives doing a job. It was actually pretty fucking cool. So we never find the guy. I end up working with Marcus on a different case. And now this is the first time that we actually get close to our prey. Because these guys are slippery as shit, right? We get to this guy's trailer. He lived in a trailer park. And behind his trailer park was a fence. And we are in the house talking to the lady, and it was me, Marcus, and Marcus's partner was out back. Marcus's partner hears this guy go. Like we're right there. Guy jumps over the fence. Marcus goes around the side. There's a gate. I didn't see the gate door. I go over the fence. Now remember, this is my first chase as a bounty hunter. This is my first excitement. A lot of it's been boring and hunting people down and blah blah blah. No to no avail. I jump the fence. My shoelace gets caught on the top prong of the fucking fence and gets in there good. So I'm up there with my foot up trying to get my finally I just kick my shoe off after a minute of struggling and go chasing after this guy on one foot. We lose him. Hold on, I'm gonna sneeze. We lose. Holy shit. We lose the guy. Can't find him. We go back to the trailer park, and I'm not thinking about my shoe. I'm actually thinking about I'm gonna play this off and I'll go back and get it in a minute. We get a call over our walkie-talkies. Hey, Ratola, are you missing something? So we're walking to the back fence, and here's Marcus's bounty hunting partner shining his flashlight at my shoe hanging off of the fucking thing. He goes, well, that was your first chase. You busted your cherry, and what a story to add to it. You got a fucking shoe caught on a fucking fence. Wasn't that fun? Uh, let's move on to my first arrest as a bounty hunter, Jeff Powers. We looked for this guy for days. We looked for this guy for a while. I think at one point, Frank and I went to this. He worked with me a little bit. Frank and I went to this house and couldn't find him. So we were talking to, I think it was his ex-girlfriend, and she's like, well, he comes around every now and then, and I don't know why he wouldn't come around tonight. She goes, he knows you guys are looking for him. I'm like, how does he know that? She goes, well, somebody told him. You? But I wasn't ballsy enough to accuse her of doing that. I'm like, so I tell you what, you mind if we wait here and see what happens tonight to see if he shows up? She's like, you're welcome to. It's like, we'll sit in your living room all night, doze off, and whatever. We wake up in the morning, we got blankets on us. She's like, you never showed up. Yeah, I guess that. So we leave, whatever. Finally, we get a call, me and Marcus, not me and Frank, get a call about 3 days later. And somebody's like, he's up in Marysville, which is a 4-hour fucking drive north in Washington. We go all the way up to Marysville. By the time we get up there, it's 1 a.m. We've got, we pull off into a church parking lot. We're putting on our vest, getting geared up and all that shit. Oh, I found it, by the way. This was my old fugitive recovery badge. You can see it's been worn and torn around the holder, but this is the badge that I used to carry. It's got a little neck thing you wear around your neck, or it clips onto your belt with the little foldy thing here. But yeah, that was it. Uh, we get all geared up and we go to this house. We knock on the door, and I tell the lady, I was like, we have a warrant for Jeff Powers, and we know he's here. And she starts to close the door, and Marcus puts his foot in the door. He's standing next to me, and Marcus goes, where is he? And she looks at him, and then she looks down the stairs. And then she moves back, like she lets us in, like she's willing to get him out of there. So why did she close the door? I mean, I think she just freaked. So we go downstairs. He's in this room. It's a dark room. We flip on the light. I've got my pistol out, and this guy's sleeping on his back. Marcus Marcus jumps on this guy's stomach and puts his gun right to the guy's forehead. He says, show me your fucking hands right now. The guy throws his hands up. Marcus kind of gets off of him, pushes him off the bed. I cuff him. We walk him out. Now, by this time, all the neighbors are outside because they've been hearing the yelling and screaming and all the shit going on. And what there's like in the movies, like when you see the cop car pulling away with the dad, like this, all the neighbors lined up. That's what it was like watching us do the perp walk with this fucking guy to our car. We have to drive another 4 hours back home, 3, 4 hours, whatever. This guy bitching and moaning and whining the whole fucking way. We take him back. We get him booked. Well, we take him to Bill's office first, the bondsman. Take him to his office. Bill pays us cash, always cash. Then we walked him across the street to the jail, hooked him in, got our paperwork, took it back to Bill, put it down in front of him. He took it, filed it. Jeff Powers in the bag. That was a long investigation. It was a long uh, way to go for not that much money. bounty hunting wasn't very profitable, but it was a lot of fun. Anyway, the reason I went off on all this stuff is because the other day I'm like, I get why these cops are like that. Or, I was starting to think about law enforcement and all that stuff. I'm like, I can see why cops are can get a little mean, but it's up to each person, like it was to me, to decide whether or not I'm gonna be professional, a nice guy, a sweetheart, or a piece of shit to the people. And after being a piece of shit to the people for so long, it didn't take long to realize, you know what? Maybe it's easier if I'm just a nice guy. I catch my flies with honey. And as I've grown, and I owe a lot of it to the security job, because without that, having to go through that where I was really shitty to people and then reflecting on it later. And I'm lucky that I'm the kind of guy that I think can reflect on it instead of being like, I was so cool back then. No, I was a shitheel back then. I didn't know anything, but it helped my progression in life. It helped me become a more positive person, more empathetic to people. And it was a hell of an experience. So those are the three places I worked where I got to have some authority on people. Uh, there's more stories into all that, but we're running low. I could probably go for another hour on this one. And it's funny because every time I do these shows, I'm like, do I have enough to talk about for an hour? And here I want to talk about more, but that's just because I talk more than seven barbers. Anyway, that's the end of today's notes. That's the end of today's show, guys. I'm Anson. Do that thing that you guys like to do: like, follow, subscribe, leave a comment. I love you guys. Thank you for listening to Anson in the morning. Listen to me ramble and be a schmuck. Until next time, guys, I will see you all